Oh, my name's Karina Thompson and welcome to another episode in the series Mastering the Basics of mySewnet Embroidery Software. In this episode, I'm going to be introducing you to different ways that you can use lettering within your embroidery projects. If you're a subscriber or own a copy of mySewnet, or are just interested in finding out more about embroidery software, why don't you subscribe to our free YouTube channel, and that way you won't miss out on any of our future episodes. In this video, I'm on a PC with the Platinum level of software installed, but what I show you today you will be able to do on any of the paid-for versions of the mySewnet embroidery software. And the principles will be exactly the same if you're on a Mac computer. I've got my software open and I have clicked on the letter tab. Just so that you know, in this film I'm not going to be talking about the font manager or the word sculpt wizard. There are other films on our YouTube channel about those features. So, Georgia is always the default font that appears. But if I click on this little arrow here, you can see the many different types of embroidered fonts that are free within the software. There are 245 different fonts for you to choose from. Everything from appliques, fonts with animals, Christmas decorations, flowers, fonts that you can use with puffy foam, Halloween fonts, just all sorts of different fonts. So to start off with, what I want to do is, in actual fact, I am going to choose this font here, the Rosemary Outline, and I'm going to click on that. Now, if you look at the text below the actual example, that's telling me some very important information. It's telling me that this is an outline, and it's telling me that it's been optimized, that it will work best between the size of 45 to 120 mil. And you can see that the smallest size here, 45 mil, has been put in. I'm going to put some text in the letterbox. You can type it in. There is a spell check if you do make a mistake, or you can always cut and paste in from another program. So I have the first word tiger all capitals and the second a mixture for reasons that I'll explain. And I'm going to click on the horizontal block. It's the first basic shape. And then I'm going to click apply. And there is my lettering in the hoop that I can then move around if needed. Now what I wanted to do was just talk about some of these other features in here. So for instance, the gap here is the gap between the letters, and at the moment that's set on 0. I could make it bigger, or indeed I could actually make it a negative number. So in this case, if I put in a negative of minus 20, I'll show you what happens. If I needed to reverse my lettering, let's say I'm doing something with felting needles, I could do that. Or if I didn't want them all to be together so that I moved them, I wanted them to be placed as individual letters, I could check that box. I'm going to want it to be colour sorted. Now the connection at the moment is going to put in a cut between each letter. But if I was working, for instance, with a very small font or a nearest point font, I might want to check this box here because that would give me a better stitch out quality. I'm just going, but in this case I do want those cuts to be in there. If I wanted to change my stitch type, I could do. And again, we'll talk about line formatting in a bit. So remember, I've got a negative gap on here, and if I click apply, you can see that I'm actually beginning to get aspects of overlap, which might be exactly what I want. it might not be at all. I'm actually going to delete that out. So I'm going. So let's talk about another font style here. And I am going to go all the way up to the dogs because I think they are very cute. If you look here, we have the letters UC. That is telling me it is only an uppercase font. So if I was to hit apply, oh, let me just change my gap back to 0 and then click apply. You can see that I've got this set of dogs, but can you see the second version of Tiger is only uppercase? So bear that in mind. This is quite a large font, so in actual fact you can see it's not fitting in my hoop. So again, I'm just going to delete that out. So let me go back and we're going to choose another font. So again, I'm going to click on that pull down arrow and I am going to scroll down and I am looking for this font. Oh goodness me, the braid one in particular. So I'm going to click on that and I am going to click on the fit to wavy line and I am going to click apply. And straight away you can see that we've got a mixture of uppercase and lowercase, but the thing that I like about the wavy line is if I click, do a left click and pull, I can actually change the waviness of my line if I want to. And this circular node actually indicates where on that wavy line the start of my word is to start off with. And I just think it's great fun to play with that wavy line. Let me just move this one up here, and again I'm going to choose another font. And let's come down to, yep, we'll go with Clarence. And it might be you say, well, Karina, actually, I want to have my lettering in a circle. So you could either do clockwise or anti-clockwise. I'm going to click clockwise, and again, just like before, I'm going to click apply. And here's my lettering. If I want to, I can make that circle much tighter if I want that curve to be more obvious, or I can open it back up. But also the little grey handle on here is indicating whereabouts on that circle the lettering is to be. And again, just going to pop this up here. But it might be you say, well, that's great, Karina, but what happens if I've got more than one line of text in here? So what I'm actually going to do is I am going to hit return and I am going to type a bit more text. Okay, now it is possible, if you want to, that you could actually cut and paste your text in here from a word processing document if you needed to. Now I am going to go with the horizontal block again. Let's just talk about the alignment. So if I hit apply with the center, you can actually see my lettering has been centered. If I hit the alignment to one side, can you see that it's actually been formatted? And the spacing is to do with the space basically between your lines. There, if you remember, I showed you earlier how you would, if you need your lettering closer together, you go to the gap aspect in there. So I'm going to go up here onto the pull down and let's choose another font up here, and I quite like this balloon one. Goodness me, where are we? There we go. And it might be you say, well, Karina, that's great. We've got 2 lines of text, but I want 2 lines in a circle. How do we do that? Let me show you. Not a problem. So I'm going to go full circle here. And then when I click on this and click apply, here's my lettering over here. Now this, can you see it's got UC, so it's only uppercase. But just like on the example before, we can make our circle smaller. Oh goodness, that's a bit too small. Or larger. And again, if you wanted to, you can move the handle part. If you want your lettering, perhaps you might want it sort of over to one side so it's not sort of symmetrical, or you can play around with both your lettering on the top and bottom. So hopefully you can see how you can very, very simply add this wide variety of styles of fonts in lots of different shapes and patterns. So I'd like to show you two other great features that are related to mySewnet lettering. But what I need to do is I need to get rid of my experiments here. So number 6 in the film strip is highlighted. What I'm going to do is I am going to hold down my shift key and click on number 2. That's going to highlight them all, and then I'm going to hit delete. So I've taken those all out. So the first thing I want to show you is it might be that you've combined some of your lettering with other embroideries, you've got other things going on, and then you go, ooh, I'm not sure if that's the right font, or maybe it needs to be smaller or bigger. How do you go about changing it? And of course this is where the film strip is really useful. So you would click on that aspect that you want to change. If I then do a right click, there's the option here, edit lettering, and if I click on that, again the letter properties dialog box opens. If I click on this pull down, this opens up all those many different fonts, and in this case I am going to go with Antonia here. If I wanted to, I could change the size. Now this is, be careful at this point, because you can see here it says that this works best between 15 and 35 mil, and at the moment the size is 45 mil. I'm going to take this down to 30, and again I could play with the angles, my connections, I could change my shape, all sorts of things. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to click OK, and straight away you can see I've changed the font within the embroidery, and in this case I've also changed the size of the font. But one of the greatest things that I really love about the lettering within mySewnet is this, and it relates to this little yellow box here. Again, I'm going to do a left click on that little label, and can you see we've got, this is basically options to do with the shaping of the lettering, and at the moment you can see we've got straight. I'm going to change that to curve. I'm going to click on that yellow box again. I'm going to uncheck the match top and bottom lines for reasons that I'll show you, and I'm going to come down and I am going to go free constraint, and I am going to uncheck the force even distribution. And let me show you the difference. Now straight away, I don't know if you've noticed, we've got some more green handles in here, and remember, green handles mean that basically the stitches haven't been fixed within the software at the moment, so that gives us huge amounts of freedom to experiment and play with that. So what I can now do is I could left click on one of these green handles and I can pull it, and that means I can shape my lettering, and I can almost pour my lettering and distort it into all sorts of shapes. Now the one thing that I would say is just be very careful about making your lettering very small, because how this stitches out is when it's on the machine is usually there is some kind of almost like a scaffolding line that puts down a framework, and sometimes if you squeeze your lettering down very small, smaller than the basically the kind of optimal size, that supporting framework line can be visible, and it just means that your embroidery isn't very nice. So let me give you an example of the potential of this letter shaping that you can do. So here's an embroidery that I've done. Yes, I did use the wine glass shape from the Word Sculpt Wizard, but you can see that I've actually poured my lettering in to that wine glass and built up the shape. You can see how easy it is to actually distort that lettering. And I explain a bit more about how to do this in my trio of films about the Word Sculpt Wizard. So my golden rule, if you're using lettering, is be aware of that optimal size. Try and make sure that you use the lettering within those 2 dimensions for the best effect. And my second rule isn't really a rule. It's with 245 different fonts, you must be able to have some fun with some projects, customizing and personalizing things. If you found this a useful film, please give us a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel so we can help you master the basics of mySewnet embroidery software. Happy sewing!